Right, and I would add just again as well that this was the ultimate wish list, and that we do realize that not everything on here is going to be able to actually be done or necessarily be funded in 2021.
So then is the goal in reviewing this list to get that kind of feedback, like things that the board wants to see cut from the list, or what's the ultimate goal for tonight?
That's exactly the goal.
Okay.
Yes, it's ultimately what the staff is going to need after reviewing these lists, and the funds, again, is going to be the determination of what your priorities are, and then, and then, of course, or whether or not you're going to have the individual department heads then make the priority list be underneath what we know the priorities are, which is things like building the reserve for the water tank line and things like that.
Okay,
The airport fund for $60,000. What's? I might. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What's going on with that?
Previous board designated the cell phone tower money that we get each year to go directly for maintenance at the airport. The town owns 75% of the airport, and our cost share on capital improvement is 75%. These funds were, that's just the money that we get from the cell phone tower goes to future capital improvements of the airport.
So, approximately how much money do we get a year on the cell tower? And do we have a fund balance for the airport set aside?
That is the fund balance that you're seeing on there is the 60 some thousand. That is the fund balance. That is how much in 2021 we will have by the end of 2021 in reserves to be put toward any potential capital improvements. The last time that they were talking about doing a capital improvement project, our portion was about $12,000 that would could potentially come out of that $60,000. And that was this year.
Do we have a upper limit on the balance that we're willing to carry on that before the town starts to begin receiving revenue?
At this time, the previous board instructed all of those funds to go to reserve for the airport. I have actually broached that conversation with Robbie and Delta County, asking if they would be amenable to have a discussion about modifying that agreement so that the entire 75% was not designated in a fund, especially since we've never had a request for a draw off of that fund, and so she has returned a call, but we haven't had that discussion in detail yet.
All right, thank you. It's just, I think it's time that the tower kind of realize the money off that tower. You see just pile of cash up when we need it in town.
Agreed, and so my suggestion was to start having preliminary discussions about potentially reducing the amount that we hold, still continuing to carry some in a designated fund so that we don't have something sprung on us without a reserve, but releasing a percentage of that into our general funds for use.
So how much do we get a year off of that?
I'm sorry?
How much a year does the town get for the amendment?
Say $7,900. That's a lot. That's a guess. I can tell you here in a minute. $7,650. Any other questions at this time on this list?
Yeah, I have a question on the second page. The road reconstruction, CW streets, where exactly is that?
Reconstruction?
Yeah, I know there's one that talks about Third, but there's a second line for 165,889 on the second page.
That is accumulated. Those are accumulated funds and that is to be determined.
And of that
Most
capital,
likely that will have to be the, sorry Phil, that will have to be the offset to the, it's gonna offset the street capital improvement to get that to the 2 blocks. In order for us to be able to do both blocks on Third, it will take the capital money and the street capital improvement money.
Great, thank you. And as far as buying the 2 million gallon tank, I thought we had decided that was not going to happen in 2021, and that we were just going to start building reserve, or building a match on that.
Yes. I mean, we've got probably another 2 years, I would say. Definitely. I think we were putting it in here so we just didn't forget about it.
And then the last thing for me is the Highway 133 extension. So that's the last piece of sewer that we take it out to stop and say?
It's been engineered.
there's no money in there.
It's been engineered, we just have to come up with the funding.
Right. Any idea what that would cost?
It's 2 point,
That section, I think, I've got that, I think it was like 1.3 million.
that was the whole.
Oh,
Not just to.
No, that was the entire project that we had engineered, so that was from South and St. down to Stall Road and also out Price.
okay, so that's the 1.3 million.
Yes.
And last time that we met, when we toured the plant, you indicated that the pressure/temperature sensors cost was going to be in the maintenance cost. Is that not the case? Now you're breaking it out.
I believe 2 of the sensors are in the maintenance cost and 2 of them are in the capital improvement.
So about how much money do we need to knock off of this?
Unless we can somehow call it streets. I'm sorry?
How much money do we need to reduce this by?
I don't have it set up that way at this moment. I don't have it set up that way at this moment. What I would like, let's go through what we have here and do our discussion, and then I'd like to come back to this list and have you cross off what you absolutely don't think we need to do next year. Fair enough?
And I want to add to the caveat, I feel like we're always a ship in motion, but there's a caveat as well that a lot of these things we're talking about, we may get data back out of our capital improvement plan that shifts and would require us to shift the direction that we think, just looking at it, that we may be able to, because they may come back with data that, contradicts what we've included. And so I just want to remind the board of that as well, that we have this capital asset improvement that's being done, and that data may divert some of these conversations, but we still have to have them so that we can move forward and present a budget.
I have another question. Is that go ahead?
Oh, go for it.
There's the line for a new skid steer, I thought we already approved and purchased that this year.
You did, it hasn't been purchased yet.
Okay.
It has been approved. It will then fall off of here, but like I said, I put it all on, anything that hasn't happened yet, I put on this list. So if you know what projects we're working on in its entirety that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
So I don't have to bill for it, it hasn't happened yet.
Have you ordered one place for it? Have you been ordered?
Yes.
Yes, it's been ordered, we just haven't been invoiced yet. And so the list shows what's outstanding and what is upcoming.
Okay, so when we're looking at the overall numbers for revenue versus expenses for next year, I'm just trying to get my head around, so like for things like that were budgeted this year and likely spent this year, even let's say we get to the end of the year and haven't spent it, it was still budgeted in 2020, so are we carrying forward revenue that's already tied to that expense, or are we reviewing these expenses only versus 2021 revenue? Does that make sense?
Yes. This list I gave you is all projects this year and next year. And then from this, it will determine what ends up being carried forward or not, or what, it's gonna help me finish this year and do next year.
So you get to carry forward the expense, but you get to carry forward the revenue that wasn't used this year.
Yes.
Right, so it was approved this year, but it wasn't finalized and the purchase didn't happen until 2021. The expenditure and the revenue was carried forward and we dispersed in 2021.
So
We don't really want that to happen, but it can. It can.
So what else is already approved for this year?
Hanson Center.
the kitchen upgrade?
Yep. The bike rack town hall. Forest assessment.
You're not going to take note of this?
I am. I'm on the front page, almost at the bottom.
Well, we skipped building code upgrade, computer storage.
That's because none of that I'm aware of is happening this year. That's all for next year. She just asked what was being what I anticipated on this list was going to be completed this year.
Are we not currently doing any tree assessment this year?
We are, yes. We've done it, I just haven't been billed for it.
So that's money that we're gonna owe.
Yes.
That looks to be completed.
Potentially the in-car cameras,
They been ordered, you know?
they have, I don't know actually. And potentially some more PD gear.
Any of this be paid for by that,
No, this is separate from that, this is budgeted for this year. Potentially the public works equipment that says 2020. second page.
Third letter from the top.
The skid steer,
Oh, wait a minute, what is the new solids upgrade in the park? What is that?
I'm sorry, which one?
PW equipment 2020, 11,445. Says new solids upgrade in park equipment, what is that?
Had to buy a couple new weed eaters, a couple, or new push mowers, bought some hedge trimmers. We had to end up getting a new, backpack loader for rolling leaves.
That costs $11,000.
No, that's just how much is allocated
They,
to that kind of stuff.
I find the list somewhat confusing because we're talking about 2020 stuff, we're talking about 2021 stuff, and we're making decisions on what, I don't know what we're making decisions on.
So if we can come back to this after we go through water, sewer, trash, I will try and make it more clear. I was just asked to provide a detailed explanation of all the projects that have been budgeted, and that's what this is a detailed list of potential and current budgeted projects.
Well, that's the thing, potential versus current. We're talking about.
I didn't split them, I apologize. I just made a single list.
I mean, not everybody else may understand it, but I find it confusing.
So my take on this is that we can basically line out everything that's labeled 2020. She just went down the list that says 2020.
That's the exception, if it isn't finished in 2020, it doesn't end in 2020.
Right, but it seems like most of the stuff is going to be done in 2020. But then it just gets pulled over until,
Some will get pulled over, some will get beat up.
right, okay. Well, but I have more questions. I think we, in the use of time, we should move on.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk trash. So, like I explained on the first sheet in the black and white that, it says summary at the top, and has the needed increase of $4.33 put over to the right.
But, okay, that's also a bit confusing. You're saying it's $4.33, but that's for a ton of trash. And so I don't know how that equates to the user. How many users do we have on our system?
788, that's what the units are. 788 units. So if you take the 34 divided by the 788, that gives you a needed increase of $4.33 per unit. However, go to the next sheet that looks like this, that has Roberts and double J on the right. And you look at the column that says new rates, that is the rate that we are proposing based on the information that we received. Okay, so for some clarification, if you go back and you're looking at the summary sheet, because you will see that we have that $4.33 is what it comes out to, but that is not exactly how it falls in with the proposed increases. Data that's missing from this is spring clean, any items that are taken that are not cycled through the trash truck. So this is based only on tonnage that's taken in the trash truck. None of the extra things that the town picks up, like tires, mattresses, all of those things are included in this. Although we have been told that the cost for those items is also increasing, potentially. They're proposed right now, but county commissioners have not finalized the approval. So right now, they are still listed as proposed changes. So that information is not included in here. That is also why you'll see some of the differences in the proposed increases on the second page. When you're looking at the second page, we included information in here on what the other two independent trash haulers charge for, as similar to the same services that we provide. So that's Roberts and Doubleday Disposal costs for their trash service as well. And our largest rate increase is for sanitation 2-yard and 3-yard dumpsters. The reason for that is because, one, our increases are higher because we need to start building reserve in anticipation of not only routine, but out of routine maintenance that will eventually start to happen on our trash truck that we just purchased. 2, for the repair and replacement of town-owned dumpsters throughout town, like the dumpsters that are at Town Hall, Town Parks, River Park, things like that. We also purchased a truck in anticipation that eventually, for workers' safety as well as convenience, that the town may switch to a tote system. So we need to start building reserves to be able to purchase totes that would then be provided to users in the community when and if the town does move that direction. And the other reason is because dumpsters are what put the most wear and tear on our trash truck. Because those are all operated, they're electrical operated arms that are lifting those dumpsters, dumping those dumpsters, setting them down. The other users are all manual lift. It's our employees that are dumping every single one of those trash cans into our cans. And so those are the reasons why you see the higher increase in the dumpster charges in comparison to the single trash use customers.
Well, getting back to your math, you need to, over the 9 months that you've listed here, you need to increase $3,408. Okay? So that means over that 9 months, you had 783 customers, is that the correct number?
788 customers.
Now that's close, okay. But that's over 9 months, you gotta take that times 9, and that actually means you got 6,300 customer units to increase by $3,408, which means you only need about 55 cents. Am I not looking at it correctly?
No, because,
Well, okay, so,
all just increase.
yes, but in 9 months, you have to increase the total cash income by $3,408. We have 788 customers, okay? But it's not 3,408 divided by 788, because you have that over 9 months.
You're correct.
You have to take 788 times 9, then divide 3,408 by that.
I need to average it out, and I cannot do that.
So it comes out to be 50 cents, and I go with $1.
I still believe we need to have an increase in our dumpster fee, and we do need to start building reserve for replacement, maintenance, and tow system.
Well, are we not charging for our dumpster more now?
There, you look at it and you see what we're charging. So a 2-yard dumpster in town right now that's dumped once a week is $35 a month for the town. That's what we charge. Roberts charges for a 2-yard dumpster dumped once a week, $62 a month. Double J charges $86 a month. For our 3-yard dumpster, we charge $37. There's only $2 difference between a 2-yard and a 3-yard dumpster. And a yard of trash.
I agree with you on those two. But across the board, with the 2 tandem or whatever the town we have, the rate increase is 50 some cents. If you want to make it $1 round it up, that's one thing. But we do need to increase your rate on dumpsters.
All right, so we will make the average adjustment and put those in and see what that comes up to, for the next. Okay, then we'll go to the budget. And the rest of the board in agreement, before we move on.
Contract with Hotchkiss, and is that taken in because when you're doing, if these numbers will locally come from rural trash collection, it's very different than trash collection inside a city where all the cans are opposed to one another.
That's a flat rate regardless of whether you're rural or in town. So our in-town customers that have Roberts or Double J, just dumpster rentals, those are the fees that they pay. Yes, I did talk to Hotchkiss about their rates, and what they charge Hotchkiss is less for their contract than what they charge individual, but then Hotchkiss then marks up what they need. I don't have Hotchkiss's rate.
I think that the dumpster fees here regardless have got to see an increase, you know, 2-yard, 3-yard, that you let the truck in there and get it, as well as the increased tonnage involved in it.
So the consensus from the board is to come back with a smaller $1 increase outside of larger spread and increase with dumpster charges.
Well, how many 2 or 3 yard dumpsters do we have in town?
There is, 2 yards is 16 and a half units, shared dumpster between two businesses, and 52 3-yard dumpsters. 52 units.
Primarily businesses?
All of them, I believe, are businesses or like the home health care and schools, or the Paonia care rehab, the schools, businesses. I don't think we have any residential pre-existing or apartments, so apartment complexes have dumpsters, but no individual single residence. I can see the one. No.
I guess my only concern is the figures from this year are really light, especially considering we did do spring cleanup and did a minimal fall cleanup, so that our rates for spring and fall are going to be significantly higher. And I'm not sure that the increases we're talking about are actually going to cover our costs.
Especially when you include the fact that none of that data includes any of the extra items that we take in. I don't want to put you in sweat, but you have an idea of an invoice that we've gotten when we've taken a dump of tires or when we've taken a dump load of mattresses and things like that.
I don't right off the top of my head. I did just haul it up for tires, so we'll be getting one. Mattresses, we usually cycle into the trash truck, but the dump is starting to charge $15 per mattress. Even if they see it cycled, they still charge.
Which is an increase of what it is now.
And they just started charging us
They
for mattresses.
So that's a new charge that we have, and we've never tracked mattresses and things like that.
So is that something that we could potentially pass through to the people who are dumping things, whether it's non-standard or somehow change the way we address that? I'm just wondering, like, how much of our trash, how big of an impact does that have? And will there be a way to track and pass through those costs to the people or the organizations who are actually doing that kind of trash dumping with the town?
We have that's that extra trash charge, but it's difficult to track, and it really is the trash truck then has to stop and notate where that item is. And what tends to happen is, again, you're putting your trash out in the alley, you may put your trash right next to the property line, you don't really have a way to know. We have people come all the time and dispute extra trash charges, they're like, it wasn't mine. somebody dumped it there, it was really close to the property line, and it belonged to the neighbor, there's no real concrete, these are actual things that we hear. And so there's no real concrete way to track those extra trash things unless we told them they needed to label them in some way. And then when they don't, and we don't pick them up, then we're leaving garbage in the alleys so it's, that, yes, but it's not effective.
In addition, you'll notice recently, people are putting stuff on the corners or over in the Y on 2nd Street with free signs. And then eventually, we have to put them in the trash truck because we can't just leave those free piles all over town. But it's getting out of control for the piles.
For information purposes, direction given to public works is that it's picked up on a weekly basis. So that they are picking it up every week, but they are, I'm sure you noticed, we have free piles sprouting up all over town, and we have no way then to know who's putting those things out, but we still have to pick them up. So we picked up a couch this week. We picked up multiple boxes. We had multiple boxes and a piece of furniture put in Fuller's Park with a sign put up over the bench that said free pile, that we had to go in and take, and we have no way to know who's placing those items, but we still have to pick them up.
Okay, I just wonder if part of the solution might be community education on that. And the reason I'm pushing this is just because I did live in a town where they had a policy that you have to call the town and schedule a pickup of any unusual items. And it may not eliminate the problem entirely, but it worked well enough that they did it for the 10 years I was aware of the program.
It's an idea.
And without a light tire, you say it was supposed to be, here we go. I don't know what people are doing, leaving tires for us to pick up. Anyway, I think that those should be fully, the cost of those should be fully reimbursed to the town, to all the people's tires on.
So another option moving forward could be the modification of what we pick up. I mean, we can absolutely state that we're not going to pick it up, and if they're placed out, but again, we're still going to have people that dump them and are going to leave them out, and we'll still have to eat that, but I think the cost may be less.
Well, I agree with you, especially when it comes to tires. We shouldn't be in the tire business. There's a proper disposal way of handling those. People don't want to do it, but don't know what the town should end up getting stuff, paying for somebody else's disposals. Now, the other ones are a little bit more difficult to deal with, the tires are not.
How do you get rid of tires?
Well, when you go to buy a new set of tires, you pay a fee. You get the disposal.
If you need your tires, you can take them home and then have the trash to pick them up.
A lot of people do. Or they change their own tires, they purchase something that changes them.
They just drop them now.
And take them to put them in a free pallet park.
Put a freeze on it.
Well, my suggestion is, and the board can disagree with me or what, let's put it out as Bill suggested, with a $1 increase on the general rates and then the increased dumpster rates on the 2-yard and 3-yard. And let's see where the numbers fall out.
And special units.
How are we going to account for specialty items?
Whatever you charge, you guys don't need to figure it.
And on our new website, we did have something about you must call or get scheduled pickup. I like that.
Or it could possibly be a copy for Let's Talk.
Oh, let's talk trash.
Yeah.
Is that something that could be put in the town code, or is that something about that in the town code?
We have an ordinance that lays out, the trash, and then via the resolution, it states what the fees are for, each tier and the extra trash fee.
But nothing that sounds like no fire or something.
In the next 10 minutes, or 5, the color changes for trash.
You will see a change in revenue as a result of the changes we're talking about tonight. We'd like to see that, we'll see
Yes.
whether the dollar for every single household has to be done.
That will get adjusted.
And on the trash, I would add to that, that we can absolutely be conservative moving in and always readdress this at any time. The board is not obligated to only discuss rates and adjustments to rates during budget. You can do that at any point in time, because another thing that we'll have to be looking at and anticipating is that if there are major changes made to the recycling offering at the transfer station, we may see even more of an increase in our trash that's thrown away if they discontinue that and move to a private program that's expensive for community members to use.
Any other questions on any of the line items on track? Okay, let's switch to sewer. We have, for discussion purposes, the perfect world scenario on sewer, on that third sheet, I think it's third sheet down. Starts with, at the top corner, starts rate, number, type, service. The black and white pages, third page in.
So we had a question from the sewer rate.
Yes.
And really just compared to the water rate. Because in my mind, in those cases, we have lines to maintain, we have treatment to do. I notice that our water rates right now, our residential rate is much lower than our commercial rate. No, wait, I'm looking at units. Never mind.
I thought we heard from Travis last time that the cost of the water is ridiculously low.
Yes.
And the base rates, that's what, there's no encouragement to conserve. And so what if we flip this and lower the base rate, but increase the cost of the water itself? Because that's what we're paying for, the treatment plants, the chemicals, and all that stuff that we're paying for, is to actually remove the water.
Well, I would argue against that a little bit, Dave, the fact that what we're paying for mostly is repair of the infrastructure. The cost of the treatment is in fact very simple. We filter and we chlorinate it, we send it down the line, but the major charges that we see throughout the year are repairs to the infrastructure, and that's what the base rate is supposed to pay for it. That's the way I see it. But, if you want to look at lowering our minimum rate, some number, or keep it where it's at and increase the upper rates, we could discuss that.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the actual rate per 1,000 gallons, but we restart looking at that. That's what I heard about in Craig Travis last time. And that water, that pays for the infrastructure too. It isn't just paying for the chemicals and stuff. We're paying for the whole ball of wax. But I'm just looking at, balancing that out so that the base rate for individual residential, they're conservative by using water, their actual rates go down. We're going to have to rely on so we're getting $100. People are really upset about the amount of utility increases we have. So if they have some control over how they can bring on the bills, that would be really important. And their control is how much they're using.
So, I understand what you're saying, but infrastructure is our most expensive cost. The producing the water is a much smaller cost. Base rate, we can fix, and that can be budgeted. Usage is very difficult to budget. So these numbers do not include very well. There is a little bit of usage budgeted in here, but not as much as should be. And I need to redirect, because we need to talk about sewer first. Pretty please.
We got diverted to water based on the question about the water and sewer rate comparison. But certainly that is a conversation as well, and we started some preliminary spreadsheets of a restructuring of the tiers to better incentivize the people that are using lower, really right on the cusp of being lower water users, and to have some of our heavier water users pay more. I mean, because we do see that as well. When you've got people using over 200,000 gallons a month, and their bill is a minor increase over someone who's using 30,000 gallons, it is a little bit hard to take. So back to sewer.
Sorry. Well, can we come back to that question? We'll come back and revisit that question, please.
So let's talk about sewer.
Well, I noticed on the sewer, the in-town, the fixed rate now is $34. Let's see, I'm sorry. Well, the one that says $53, and now you're going to go to $50, the new rate, you're reducing it by $3. What are reasons for that?
It's because in past conversations, the board has requested that the in-town and out-of-town get leveled out so that everybody is paying closer to the same. And so that is what we're attempting to do with these rate changes, is to balance the
Lessen the spread between in-town residential users and out-of-town residential users.
Yeah, let's not get involved in that. If we need the money, why reduce money for out-of-town people? Just leave it the same. We're catching up to them. We're getting closer. But reducing the rates is ridiculous.
We can do that. Everybody else agree with that?
I do.
Good, perfect, thank you.
But no, why are we, what is your thought process on driving up the residential rates from $34 to $40? It seems like a significant increase.
So I want to come back to when Cindy was providing just a brief overview of each document and remind the board that we know and when we provided it, that these numbers were not going to be the numbers that we went with. What Cindy provided here is with the information that we have now, not reflecting any changes in any budget items based on any outcome of election or any such thing, using only the information we have now. And in anticipation of the projects we know are upcoming based on the way the town has been doing it up to right now, which is base rate for water, not so much with use, and we don't, of course, there's no use charge for sewer, that not applicable for all of us who are customers of these accounts as well, but in order to maintain what we have and start doing repairs that need to happen, and start planning for those capital improvements, and those bigger projects that are going to start coming in the near future, this is what it could take. This is the total dollar amount. And it is $22 per customer basically across the board. That's not exact because there were some residential. Right, there were some modifications between in town and out of town, so there's that little bit. But that's what we were presenting to the board, and we made the decision to include it because there was conversation about should we include it. We know this is going to be too much. It would be too much for any of us. But we really decided to give it to you so you could see it. So you have that data, but we absolutely know that, no, we're not going to be able, especially, never a good year to increase fees, never a good year to increase taxes, especially not this year. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at the data, we shouldn't start talking about it, we should start reviewing it and making some decisions.
And like I said, this is just for discussion purposes. This is not where I expect us to land. But we do need to, we also have reserve requirements with our debt, and that is affected by water and sewer. We are currently not at the appropriate reserve. That means there is going to be money in water and sewer that has to, and it's a substantial amount of money, because it's basically 3 months worth of expenses we're required to have in reserves plus 110%. So that is a substantial amount of money that we need to have in reserve that we don't currently have. So we need to build our reserves, plus then we have these projects that we need to pay for if we're going to do them. So we've got to start building our reserves, and that means there's going to be money sitting there that's not being used because they say it can't.
One of the other concerns is that there's another...
Oh, I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
This doesn't work.
Okay, well, so that's the magic word. When you say it doesn't work, it'll start working. One of the concerns I have is that there's no differential between, if I'm reading this right, in-town sewer and commercial. And there is a differential in water between in-town and commercial. And it doesn't make sense to me that if commercial is charging more for water, they should also be charging more for sewer. It just doesn't make sense to me that we wouldn't bump that up a little bit. So there's another possibility. It doesn't get the individual family so much, and that's what I'm after, is trying to keep that residential rate down. That's why I think it's very important to look at that usage thing and see if there's a way to pull, and I don't think somebody's interpreting what I'm saying right. What I'm saying is you backfill what we lost in user fees with the usage fees. Okay? That's what I'm trying to get at. So we try to estimate that as best you can. There will be some flexibility. People may be dropping by 5 or 10% because they can now conserve. There's an incentive to do that. But it's not going to be huge. When you can look at your past and say, what can people use? What if we use retail rates? How can we lower the residential rate and still bring the money in by increasing the cost of the water?
I'll pull that data.
Thank you.
So we'll pull that data together.
I agree with Dave on the idea of using the tiers a lot more than we are now, and moving most of our costs into the tiers to help encourage water conservation and to charge more for people who are frankly paying their use on our infrastructure. I actually disagree with the idea of separating out residential and commercial, really both for water and sewer, because I feel like a gallon of water is a gallon of water, no matter who's using it. And we talked about wanting to be more business friendly in town, and I think increasing the rates on our businesses, especially the current businesses that we know are struggling right now, is not the way to be business friendly. So I would love to see a system where we have the same base rate across the board, and then a tier base rate. So if a business is using a lot more water, they're going to be charged a lot more for that use. But the same would be true on the personal side. if they're a heavy business user or a heavy residential user, they're putting the same strain on our system.
You have to be careful about the dumpster charge, because that hits the businesses directly, and that's much bigger than what we're talking about with this water charge.
That's true, but I think in that case, we're not targeting the businesses, we're saying the heavier users are charged more. So if a resident has a dumpster, they would be charged the same way.
I think that's a good direction, and then it diverts back again to sewer. And I
think that we should use our water usage to set sewer rates as well, because water in, water out. So I think we could have matching tiers that are based on water metering and use the same kind of structure to charge for sewer.
So and that's come up before, and I think those are really good ideas, but I think that those would require more of a planning and discussion at the board level than we can necessarily do and complete and present to the public within this budget cycle. But I have heard that actually before, as I mentioned, and there are other communities that do that. They do have a tiered charge for sewer based on water use. Typically it is based on winter water use, and averaged out, because summer water use is higher, of course, because of exterior water, which then is not entering the sewer system.
But we will start collecting that data. Any other questions or comments on sewer?
If we need incremental, let's just increase the commercial rate by $2.
So what would you
Or zero. Yeah, you're charging 34 for residential, why not 36 for commercial? Just start to get some differential in there.
So maintain the current residential sewer rate and increase the commercial by $2.
Yeah.
That's the suggestion.
Yeah, that's a suggestion.
And I just want to be clear that I disagree with that, and I think the residential and sewer should be the residential and commercial should be at the same level, and it should be usage based.
Not for trash and not for water.
I think they should all be the same.
That would be a significant increase in income, because we would lose the commercial add-on for water, and we lose the commercial add-on for trash, because we're talking dumpsters and we're talking all that other stuff. So just maybe be careful of where we're going with this.
Now, I'm not saying we would change the dumpster piece, I'm saying it applies whether you're commercial or residential if you have a dumpster. And then for the water, it would be the same, just like we were talking about with the residential tier, you wouldn't lose those funds, you would just build that in at the higher tier levels instead to make sure that you're not reducing overall revenue. Instead, it would be built into the tier system. Does that make sense?
We disagree on commercial.
Okay, so I'm going to take a quick poll. Where in your perfect world would you like to see sewer rates based on the information that you have in front of you? Bill?
Well, I would agree with an overall increase of $1. Currently, the service, this is the last one I have here in front of me, is June 2020, and the sewer, $428,000 capital, only has a $98,000 excess. So our current sewer rates, the last time this thing was generated, we were accumulating revenue, accumulating reserves. So I know that, towns like to zero everything out, which means we spend more money, but that's a slippery slope of what do we spend it on. And so I think that in addition to the $1, we really need to identify our projects and start accumulating the reserves. And where the reserves are called out all the time.
Very good. Ma'am?
increase in more than $1, I would say $3 across the board.
Thank you. Dave?
$1 increase residential, $3 increase commercial.
Okay. Karen? Tammy?
I don't know that I know. Yeah, $3 across the board.
3?
Yeah. Oh, it's stand by. I like the bar.
Stand by, I'm sorry, what did you say?
You did it, increase of 5.
Okay. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Nick?
I would go with, 1 and 2.
Thank you. Michelle?
I like to be within across the board, and I would prefer for it to be tiered, and I know that's a longer conversation. For an actual dollar amount, I think it should depend on our projects for like a 1, 5, 10-year timeframe and see what we actually, what are our priorities over that timeframe and what do we need to get into reserves to make that happen. And if that's $3 across the board, then so be it, but I think it should be based on those needs.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any questions on our line items on sewer?
Okay, and we only have 8 minutes, so talk fast, people.
Well, we won't get very far in 8 minutes.
No, we're still on sewer line items. And that's how we're looking in sewer drain.
I don't have any comment to do. But we'll get it up there. Good.
Did everybody miss the expenditures?
So, he must have stuck the paper here. Sorry. All right. We'll come back to that next, we'll start there next time.
Okay?
We're good.
Okay, that's a long time to go to your cat. All right, can we have roll call, please?
Trustee Bear?
Here.
Trustee Benedict? Here. Trustee Johnson?
Here.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
Trustee Beck?
Here.
Trustee Patterson? Here. Mayor Barker?
Here. All right, we have one, and we can continue. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Second?
Second.
Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is announcements. I have an announcement to make. I want to thank everyone who took part in the series in the survey for our Polish Street Park, Grand Avenue pop-up. We had over 700 people take the survey, and that was a really wonderful turnout. And it's going to take us a while to compilate all the data, because there were over 500 written comments that we got as well. And that's going to take a little doing. So anyhow, hopefully sometime December, we'll have an in-depth presentation on the survey results. But thank you everybody who came out and helped. All right, next on the next on the agenda is recognition of visitors and guests. And first underneath that is the Shop Safe, Shop Local recognition. I don't see anybody from the refinery here. But that is who we are honoring this week for stepping up to the plate to keep all of us safe with their behavior and the way they're trying to take care of business. So, Thank you, designers, we will get you your certificate other than that. Next is visitors and guests. So how many people would like to speak tonight? We have five. All right. Since you only have one card, you have 5 minutes and you have the floor. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Constantine Hirschfeld. I live at 336 Rio Grande Avenue in Paonia. Been living there 20 years in Providence until lately. And I wrote this down after I read the September 30th DCI. I proved my stack because I had enough. And I'll read everything that I wrote, and then I'm going to leave. Article the DCI stated he wants to make Grand Avenue a one-way street. Is this so? What are we asking? Why do you make bigger bike riders over cars? They don't stop. Bike riders don't obey the rules of the road and have no rights to pay taxes on. Why is this? Also, why do you have a person who lives upside down giving you advice on what to do in this town? And I can think of it. It was in the paper, you know who it is. Next, I don't think that people who are on the council, who don't say it in political allegiance, should be on the council. Or I pledged 6 years of my life to the USA and Canada. I still pledge myself to the USA. If you can't say a pledge, move to a different country. This is what I have to get off my mind, and this last meeting I will ever come to. Thank you, Constantine Hirschfeld, 336 Rio Grande Avenue. Have a great evening.
Thank you for sharing this.
I have to make this all my kids.
We understand, thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, let's move on with the administrator's report. Corinne, you are up.
I made some notes because there was a possibility I wasn't going to be here for this portion of the meeting, so I'm going to read off of my notes to everyone. To update, based on the website, Dulles County COVID count to date, there's 193 positive counts and 3 deaths. There was a reporting that there was a 4th death related to COVID, but that has actually been proven to be false information. It was not COVID related. So the county still holds that 3 deaths COVID related. The employee retirement representative plans to be at the meeting on October 27th. I have been asked to request from the board that we allow him to be present and answer questions at the budget work session. He does live on Front Range and would need to drive back after the meeting. He's also asked that if we could provide any questions by October 22nd so he can make sure to have them fully answered and be prepared for the meeting. So if you send them to me, I can make sure to get them to him. Any questions you had about the proposed change from Mutual Omaha to Empower for the retirement plan. To date, we've received no follow-up communication from the Canadian Ditch Company regarding Main Avenue, but we continue to reach out and work toward resolution. Included in the next packet will be the CDPHE compliance inspection for our discharge permits at the Lower Treatment Plant, the full sanitary survey results, and the completed remediation plan that we are required to provide back to CDPHE for any deficiencies that were noted. Also included in the next packet will be my preliminary list of objectives related to the 3-month evaluation priorities identified. I am currently evaluating and intend to present to the board the addition of a mini code service that will review all of our town municipal codes and add footnotes and hyperlinks to all of the state law references. So it will reference where our code interacts with state law, and so that anyone that goes online and looks at our municipal code would be able to click on that hyperlink and review the state law in comparison to the town ordinance. The approximate one-time initial cost for that is about $2,500. And the annual review and updates would be only an addition of $300 a year. Also, a preliminary update, I received an email with some questions about the coronavirus relief fund, and so I have just some preliminary information here to provide. The board approved the Delta County Collaboration Agreement regarding the Department of Local Affairs Coronavirus Relief Fund the end of June this year. The application to DOLA was submitted for review July 13th, and we received approval notification August 16th, which retroactively allowed for reimbursement submittals beginning for COVID expenditures that began March 1st of this year. The town, following the advice from DOLA, included the full amount that was available in their request. There are no matching fund requirements, nor is there any requirement that the town must expend the full amount. The first reimbursement request is being compiled and is anticipated to be filed by the end of the month. To date, the town has expended approximately $10,375 of the coronavirus relief fund between PPE, which is personal protection equipment, which includes things like masks for staff, as well as masks that we provide to anyone that comes into town hall upon request, hand sanitizers, disinfectants, gloves, and additional cleaning products. Remote access software and equipment, which includes IT department support, our Zoom membership, and things like that, so that we can offer remote attendance to meetings and to send our meetings out to people who aren't in attendance physically. It also includes state mandate compliance, which includes things like our park closure, office area materials, and installation, disinfection of the parks when they reopen, things like that. It also includes advertisements and banners. Some potential expenditures that could be upcoming are the upgrade of the sound system equipment for remote meeting attendance and viewing by public that don't want to attend in person. We have had AV experts out of Grand Junction come, and the quote estimate for that is just shy of $20,000. Reminder to the board that when the board initially went to the camera and sound system that we have in here, that was to amplify the sound for attendance. For people that are in this room, it is not built to project and collect sound for live streaming or for people that see it outside of this room. And that's why people that are viewing it on YouTube, it sounds terrible, it sounds muffled, it's far away. It's not the right kind of system. So reaching out to Delta County, City of Delta, other municipalities, and asking them how they did it, they all highly recommended AV experts, and that's who we had to come out and provide that quote. We also we're looking into a small business grant program and additional advertisement. Those are the three things that I was able to include in this report that would be potential expenditures. It's very restricted on what you can submit for reimbursement, and it is reimbursement. We don't get any of that up front. And that's all I had in my report for tonight.
Okay, questions for the town administrator from the board? Dave?
I don't
Oh, I didn't say that, did I? Yes, they have. They anticipate completion by the end of the week barring any issues. They're working on some other things around town as well. You're welcome.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What is the cost on turning those lights off?
It will be dependent on exactly how much time it has, but roughly $250 a light.
Other questions? Yes, Michelle.
One question on that coronavirus relief fund. I do have in my notes that we talked about that in June, but I didn't have anything in my notes about when it was approved in August, so I'm not sure we discussed that publicly, and I just want to...
No, that's when we received the approval that our inclusion in the collaborative at DOLA, that's when they approved it. We brought it before the board in June, which is when the board approved the memorandum of understanding between all of the communities, because all of the communities in the county had to agree to it. And so that was when we brought that before the board with the attachment that showed the amount, because the amount is based on population only. It's not based on expectation of expenditures. And so that was all in June that we signed that collaboration agreement so that we could submit our information directly to DOLA, because they process it through their grant portal like they do any other grant, but it's not, it's the relief fund. So since that approval, there's been no further requirement for approval from the board.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is not a grant where we received $125,000. This is a reimbursement program where we may be reimbursed up to $125,000 depending on our actual expenses.
Exactly. And all expenditures have to be, anything that we're putting in for reimbursement has to be, spent by December 30th and reported by December 30th. That's the deadline for requests for reimbursement.
Okay, and is there something that we can get, and the board can recommend an appropriate use of time, that a list in writing of what we're requesting reimbursement for related to that, just, because that's, I know each request may be fairly small, but in total, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
Right, and, so you want the itemized list?
Yeah, I think it would be nice for the board to see, for the public to see that these are funds spent that were reimbursed related to COVID.
We can do that. So do you want us to do that as a report or a final report on our final request for reimbursement?
I will defer to you and to the mayor on what's most appropriate. I don't want to make this something that consumes an unreasonable amount of time, but I think it's good information for the board to have.
Okay.
And I would just suggest that we do the big chunks, report out anything over, say, $2,000, $3,000, when we ask for reimbursement, and then we can have a final accounting in December of everything. Other questions? Okay, anything from the audience? Yes.
Christina Patterson. I was just wondering if you were using on that committee Region 10 that is helping towns around Delta County, or just deferring to them with their funding with these COVID grants, and then they're actually figuring out how to spend it best and how to revitalize businesses. It's a quasi-governmental committee, yeah. So I was wondering if you were working with them or thought about working with them?
We've spoken to Region 10 on different items and different support mechanisms that we could put in place that are COVID related, but not specific to the relief fund, but a good suggestion.
Anyone else? Yes. Oh, could you stand and state your name and address? Thank you.
Paige Smith, 215 Delta. So I just have a question about the reimbursement grant. Can it be used at all to help people with their late fees for not being able to pay their utilities?
No, I specifically asked that. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, no, I just wondered if it's strictly what the city has had to spend to, deal with COVID and adjust appropriately. It's not, doesn't go down to individual businesses or citizens. That's all.
So I did request that because one of the things that I was looking at and wanted to be able to use the money for was not only to offer flat across the board grants to support our businesses that are struggling, but also to offer some type of a grant or reduction to our utility customers. And I was told that we could not do it for utility customers because basically by doing that, that's like padding our revenues, and that's prohibited in the grant. So even to do a grant for a business, we have to line out what they would have to, how they would qualify, which basically means they would have had to have closed due to any of the mandates, the stay-at-home or safer-at-home mandates, or closed voluntarily to help reduce the spread, or can show a significant loss in revenues specific to the COVID period of time, which they say starts March 1st.
So do the businesses in town know that they could potentially apply for this if they meet those criteria?
We have to put that in place, but, and that's what we're working on right now. We've requested from 2 other governmental entities that have just put a grant program in place. That was a modification to the original use. That was not a use that was included when the grant was first put into place in June. And so once we get the information on we're basically looking at another community that just finalized it so that we can try to duplicate that for the town. And then we'll immediately, every business will be notified once we know what they have to do.
And does it have to be done by the end of the year?
Yes.
They have to have the paperwork in and approved in order to get that?
Yes.
So it sounds like Nola left a lot of items hanging. There's some afterthoughts that, you know, kind of was a lot of catch-up.
It was a revision, so if you've been following the COVID, especially the funding part for businesses closely, when DOLA first did this, there was a push from the county to have towns participate into a loan fund, and that was also with Region 10, and there was basically a low interest, no interest loan that businesses could come to apply for, and towns could take money out of their budget and include it into this loan fund that then any business in the county could go and apply for. We did not participate in that along with some other communities. We didn't have funds to do that. And from the conversations that I had with multiple business owners in town, they didn't do it either because they were concerned about what the long-term ramifications would be, having none of us have an end date for when COVID's been done. And so there was concern about how they then would be able to pay back this loan. So then DOLA shifted because everybody's trying to move at kind of a rapid pace, and they shifted the requirements and then said, you know what, you can use some of this for grants, but these specific stipulations have to be met. And so now towns are scrambling to get those in place. And that's been the hard part with grants and funds that are at any point, because you get that approval and you really have to hit the ground running and expend those funds because there's a very short amount of time that they're allowing you to do it. So you want to be thoughtful and expend it appropriately, but also try to get as much of it as you can so that it's best helping the people in the community and the businesses that need it.
So do you think any businesses locally will have an opportunity to use it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you've got people that are getting in time, because December 30th is far away.
Coming quick.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Suzanne?
Suzanne Watson. So I'm kind of bothered that we don't have a microphone as an audience, and I don't understand why it was taken away. I know you said that we could all affect each other and it was really dangerous, but I think if we're wearing masks, if things are just cleaned afterwards, I don't know if you might hire someone to come in and clean after the meetings, especially, during this pandemic. And
Suzanne, please address the items that Corinne brought up in
no, I'm talking about the pandemic grant. I'm talking about ways you might spend money. And I'd also like to know how this money is being spent, because when grants are applied for, the town of Paonia is me, it's Paige, it's this gentleman, it's all of us, and I think we have a right to know how the money is being spent, even if it's less than $2,000. When I go into the office and there's a sign that says, please ask for a mask if you need one. I'd like to see a box of masks there. And if people want to take 5 masks because that would help them out, they cost pennies. They're not that expensive. So now that they have the funds, it would be nice to see that generosity to help protect the entire population. As far as the business grants, I'm wondering about the late fees and fines. Is that really considered revenue, or is it kind of in addition? I mean, it's not really, you don't go out thinking that you're going to make money off of the people of the town by charging late fees and fines. It's mostly the rates that people are paying. So what I'm curious about is, what if someone gets sick with COVID? What if they lose their job because of COVID? They can't pay their bill. Why is that, or they have to defer it? Why is that any different, helping them out with their late fees, waiving the late fee, than helping a business in town who has an unexpected shutdown because of COVID? I know the city of Louisville, Colorado, they have their disaster declaration that they made back in May, I think it was May, but they have an ordinance that waives the late fees while this disaster is in effect, because it's a little hypocritical to say that we're having this awful disaster, but you're not recognizing the small disasters that individual residents might be having in this town. So I wanted to put that forward.
And I don't know, I missed the meeting when you talked about waiving the late fees and fines, but I don't know if the pandemic relief grant was brought up at the time. Other than that, I wanted to, PPE. We're having a hard time speaking through masks. I know that some of the trustees have expressed it's hard to hear, the voices are more muffled. How do you thought about visors? Keep you from spraying. I think it's probably more effective than pulling down your mask while you're talking because it contains whatever spill and droplets could be coming out of your mouth. So you might want to look into clear visors. It might be a lot easier to hear. And it's a perfectly acceptable type of PPE. And then the only other thing is someone mentioned the streetlights. I think make it, and I'm kind of wondering why we all have to pay for that. I mean, if we're paying $250 to go up the streetlights, I'd like a dimmer to be put on mine for off-peak hours. I mean, as long as we're revisiting the streetlight, it would be nice, to look at some of the other alternatives, as long as we're spending money on it, and I'm having to pay to turn off other people's streetlights that don't like them. Even though I don't like my streetlight either, but I'm sure it'll never go off. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I just have a quick comment on that COVID reimbursable grant. I talked with friends who are in government in Cedar Ridge, and they said they're using that reimbursable grant really to boost the economy and the businesses there. And they said in ways that were like, in the winter, getting the restaurants that are seated outside, heaters and such like that. So those things were actually, could be done, which is an interesting concept. And make me think, gosh, we should really, and I'm sure you're doing it, but just really be connected to, Hotchkiss and Crawford and Cedar Ridge and Delta and all those things. And I guess that's what that Region 10 does, unifies that. So I just thought I'd put it out there. Because you're really thinking, there's some great things that can be done that fall under those parameters of that framework. So that's all. Thanks.
So and I can add that we talked about that. We talked about the heaters. I mean, this isn't an exhaustive list. It was just a few things. And we also talked about signage that is not just temporary signage through banners, but also looking at the programmable signs that you can put messages on and place strategically throughout town. Because while we can use those right now to provide messages that are directly related to COVID, we can also use those for alternative messaging moving down the line. So those are things that are being looked at. And Suzanne, I would happily have a conversation with you and answer those questions later if you would like to. But I do have some responses and some information about some of the details.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Let's move on to Public Works.
Good evening. We've got our spring line finally underway. Should finish that this week. About 1,200 feet of new 4-inch pipe over on the other side of McDonald Mesa. We have been doing a lot of street cleaning right now, trying to clean up before winter time, cutting down a lot of the elm trees on Samuel Way coming into town and stuff, and around stop signs and yield signs and anything that's kind of in the roadway. We will start running the leaf back next week. To start cleaning up leaves in the gutters and stuff, so people are starting to rake. They can get them out in the gutters so we can get them cleaned up. Our sidewalks are still underway, looking really nice. They're running a little behind because they're having trouble getting concrete because the big project in Delta is using a lot of concrete, so their sectional cores and stuff, they're kind of having to get a truck whenever they can. And starting to work on the inventory programming with my new hire, trying to get a program set up for our inventory. So that is going slow, but it is started. And that's all I've got, unless you guys have any questions.
Okay, questions from the board?
Yes, I had several. Can you update us on the work that the different contractors are doing, JDS, Hydro, the mapping, the SCADA system, and one of the yellow tank?
JDS Hydro is, they come up and looked at the springs, and I haven't got an update from them. I think Ray asked for updates from those guys. I know, SGM was out last week, and we started the asset inventory, took him around to all the facilities, and he started doing assets on the streets. Mapping, I'm still redlining the maps, the points that they've got. I'm sorry, what was the third? Brownsville. I haven't got an update from Brownsville. I emailed him today again, but I haven't got a response. But he did tell me that they are having a really hard time getting components for the SCADA system right now.
I, for one, and I think all the council would like you could solicit a written response from all the contractors of where they're at in the project and expected time to wrap these projects up. I think it would work to know.
So I can provide a little bit of information there. So I have that information, but based on the priority list that was provided from the board with my evaluation, my plan was to present that the next board meeting, under the objectives, but I'll go ahead and provide that now and just note it in my...
Next board meeting, fine.
Okay, but I do have all of that information that you're asking for.
And then finally, can you speak to us about the recent water line break caused by the contractor?
Contractor working on a sewer ditch, hit a 4-inch main line, where it crossed the existing canal, just on Old Road, just above the mosquito district. The line wasn't located, after doing reviews and stuff. The contractor did not call in locates. As soon as we found out, we did get the water line fixed. They will be coming to the town to schedule shut off. I told them they needed to give at least a week's notice to do a shut off, so they can raise that line so their pipe will cross. But all that expense and everything will be on the contractor, which we will bill Stewart for.
Okay, it is, I think the locating is basically mandatory for all contractors doing digging. Did they offer you an explanation as to why they didn't do a locating?
I talked to the representative for Stewart Ditch, which is Bill Church. I talked with him, and he cannot give me a reason why they did not call in locates. I've got to call into 811, which is the locate notification company right now, to find out what the ramifications could be or not for digging without proper locates.
Yeah, I think there probably is ramifications.
Yeah,
I appreciate you looking into that.
Yeah, I'm working with 811 right now, trying to figure out all the ramifications.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else on the board? Yes, Michelle.
Could we get an update on the water plants, what's being treated in the stove, and, we had talked at one point about putting a spreadsheet with that information on a monthly basis. Is that still in the works?
Yes, the spreadsheet is still in the works. Right now, we're producing about 212,000 gallons a day, and right now we're spilling about 12,000 gallons a day. It ranges between 8 and 10,000 gallons of spillage a day. Production water is just holding pretty steady, about 212 to 213.
That's 212 to 213,000 gallons a day.
212 to 213 gallons that we're trading right now, producing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
One more, and I don't know if this is for Public Works or Administration and both, but we originally had a visit scheduled, a site visit to the plants for, I think it was October 9th, and we do have a rescheduled plan for that.
We we are rescheduling it and we're planning to have a date this month, but I haven't had an opportunity to look at our calendars with Travis and pick that date, but we will get that done. We don't let that fall off the radar, we're actually looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else? Yes, Tim. In relation to that tour, I think it would be interesting to have, or good to have anybody who's interested in serving on the water committee be on that tour. Are there any letters? Have you received any expression of interest on that committee?
I have had expressions of interest, but the formal application submittal process hasn't occurred yet. But I have that application actually open on the computer, so that will, and so I will extend an invitation to the people that have stated that they were interested. And we're also extending, dependent on the scheduling, we're going to extend an invitation to a videographer so that they can record as well, and we would be able to offer it via the website or some other mechanism for people who aren't physically able to go, so that they can see what the plants look like.
Anything else? Anything from the public? Suzanne?
I have a question, Travis, on this mapping project. Are you mapping the irrigation lines that directly supply the town parks on this mapping project?
Not with the engineers, but we can put points in there at any time and add any layers that we want. Right now, it's just water, sewer. We are going to add the recent tree survey that has been done. We're going to add that to a layer, and then we could do irrigation also.
Okay, that's kind of important. How about the storm sewer? Is that for sure?
Storm sewer is already in.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Kate.
Page 215 Delta. Travis, I'm not at enough meetings. You said you have a new hire doing an inventory program? I just didn't know what they're inventorying.
Well, he's a new hire for Public Works. It's a new inventory system for like water leaks, what repair parts we use, kind of a check-in, check-out system to make sure our inventory stays right up where it's supposed to.
Right, thank you. I just had no idea if it was shovels or water or things like that. And I just have a general question, and that is when you get the report from the tree survey, will that report be made available on the webpage to the public?
Yes,
Okay. Because I spoke with her, I was quite impressed. She knows her trees.
she does.
So I look forward to seeing her report. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the police report. And I believe Corinne has something from Chief Ferguson.
The only thing that he asked that we report out was information regarding the shooting that occurred October 5th. He stated that on Monday, October 5th, officers received a call from dispatch that a male with a gunshot wound was at the Paradise Theater. Upon arrival, they were notified that the primary scene was near Price Road and Samuel Wade Road. It was determined that that fell within Delta County's jurisdiction. They assisted with collection of evidence and continue to assist the county sheriff's department as needed, but the case has been turned over to the Delta County Sheriff's Department, and that it is still an open and active investigation.
Okay. We don't have anything from the attorney, so let's move on to disbursement. Treasurer King, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We reviewed payroll and disbursements with the Finance and Personnel Committee. At our last meeting, we confirmed our fund balances. We continued to do analysis of the 2021 proposed budget. And for the board's information, we have received from the county our certification of values for the town of Paonia, which will be included, of course, in our final budget for property taxes. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Treasurer King? Yes, Michelle.
On that, certification of tax values, it looks like we got a difference to date of, if I'm reading that correctly, we received 20,000 more than what we originally budgeted in sales tax, and whether those,
Certification of values is for property taxes, not sales taxes.
okay, I think the comment still holds, but we received more than we originally budgeted for.
Last year, I think our property taxes were somewhere around 137,000. This year, it's around 134,000 based on the certification values.
So sales, yes, I think you're looking at the sales tax.
I am.
The sales tax report that was supplied, and I believe it is estimated to annualize out at more than we budgeted. But that will, fill in any deficits and will be used to fill in any deficits and will be, the remainder will go into reserves.
You like that, I was confusing those two documents, sorry about that. So the remainder reserves back into the general fund?
I'm sorry?
The remainder is going into reserves from the difference between what we budgeted and what we received, does that go into the general fund?
Yes, it all has to go to the general fund.
Okay.
And, well, 1% of it, the 1% goes into the capital. 1% goes, the other 2% gets allocated throughout the, general fund parks, streets.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Treasurer King? Okay, seeing none, anything from the public? All right, seeing none, can we move on to disbursements, please?
Mayor, I move that we approve payment of accounts payable in the amount of $66,529.47. The water power loan payment of $11,671.70. The credit card, the Chase credit card, $2,050.99. The transfer and payment to the payroll for September 25th of $22,058.75. And payroll taxes for that same payroll of $22,645.51. And that's high because it's the end of the quarter. And also transfer and payment to payroll of $19,751.72. That's for the October 9th payroll. And payroll taxes for that same payroll of $7,969.32. And that's it.
Okay, do I have a second? Questions? From the board? Yes, Bill.
I have several questions. Elaine Brett.
Reimbursement for expenses.
South City Calvis.
CDOT grant also designed.
Iowa Hospital.
That is the second half of the bench payment for the postcard.
Okay, on the Elaine Brett and the City Calvis, concerning the CDOT grant, will those get the grant fund costs? Okay, and then the United Companies, $9,500.
That's concrete for the family ditch, straighter correct?
Main Street.
Yeah, okay. Oh, the Paonia.
Oh, that's, getting water to him, the building, we had it.
Okay.
Had some electrical function above it.
That's essentially a one-time charge.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Michelle.
What is one thing?
It's a reimbursement to somebody for overpayment. So instead of putting them in an account, we have an account called one-time, that are just for one-time payments.
So if someone closes an account and they have a credit on their account, we pass it through that account to refund them their overpayment.
Okay, thank you. And, Western Slope CO, is that the conservation center or is that Western Slope organization?
That's a grant, that's a company that we gave, that we approved a project for to do the park master plan, and this is the first initial, on that grant.
And then, one of the questions on this one, it's not a dollar amount, it's a very small dollar amount, but I know there's a charge for RVs in Grand Junction, and it just made me wonder if we have what kind of written process we have in place for when and how meals are reimbursed for the town.
Well, if they're traveling and they're not in town, I think that covers it.
That is PD training, and there are PD has written policies and per diem, and in addition, the IRS provides, per diem requirements for travel and training.
Okay, so we just use the existing federal government per diem requirements when we're doing reimbursements for meals or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, anything else? From the public? Yes, okay.
Page 215 Delta, I was just curious what, the bill for the US Geological Survey was for.
There's a banking station on the river, so riverrunners should be paying us for that because it's a great service.
Thank you.
Christine?
Thank you, Christina Patterson. So that, Ira Houseworks bench was, that was half of it, was $3,000, so it was $6,000 for that whole bench, is that correct? Okay, and, Genmar Services is, sorry.
Okay.
I'm waiting to try to let the committee answer the question.
We're contract labor for the parks right now, and that person, this is the temporary payroll service, and that's his payroll.
And in addition, clarification on the bench. So the disbursements were revised after that initial inclusion. $3,000 was the total. $1,500 expenditure was given upfront for supplies and materials earlier in the year. So we actually only disbursed an additional $1,500, and all of those funds came in direct donation from the Marston family and other individuals who donated money for the bench in his memory.
And Genmar Services, I think I asked you about that last week, but I thought it was just sort of a one-time deal going on. But is that, as long as this person is here, they're going through Genmar Services for his payment?
Correct.
Well,
Unless we were to hire him as a permanent employee. Right now, we hired him through a temporary agency, and the temporary agency requires a minimum of a 3-month contract before you can take someone that is provided through the temporary agency and offer them a position of a permanent position.
And this is a 2-week payment of like close to $3,000, so that's his sort of term every 2 weeks is like $3,000 for
A portion of it's his payroll, and a portion is Genmar Services upcharge on it.
And there was no one locally to do that job, or to hire someone locally for that, his services, or?
We were looking for something very specific, and in all actuality, when the town puts out advertisement for hire, people don't apply. We don't get a lot of applicants or applicants that have specialized training, and we were looking for someone that had specialized training in groundskeeping and green space maintenance. And so that's how we were able to find someone with that specific training.
And Susie Caldas for $900.
that's, designed for the, CDOT, reimbursement for, grant.
It was the CDOT grant. She was paid, she did design work for the posters on the CDOT grant, so that grant funds to cover that.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Suzanne.
Suzanne Watson, could we get our money back from whoever designed the paint job on the street? I wanted to know, what's the, park master plan? Are you talking about Polis Park? Just,
No, this is a grant we put out quite a while ago for the Parks and Trails plan,
oh, okay.
and that will feed into the master plan. It is not exactly the master plan, it is just a piece that we got grants for.
Thank you for explaining that.
All right, anything else? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of accepting disbursements? Opposed? All right, seeing none, let's move on to the executive session. Can I get a motion?
Yeah. I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations, and or instructing negotiators under CRS section 24-6-402-4E, specific to Colorado Code Staff Consulting.
Can I have a second? All in favor? All opposed? All right, that motion passes. We are in executive session. Trustee Madison, Trustee Johnson, Trustee Knudsen, Trustee Patterson, and Town Administrator Ferguson. For the record, any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law. I would ask you that you state your concerns for the record.
It's not concerned, but I think that there are so many moving parts around the Colorado Code Consulting contract and negotiations, and it was hard to stay on track.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I move that the town administrator submit to Colorado Code Consulting a list of concerns and stuff developed through the Governmental Affairs Committee in meetings with various public participants. Submit that to the Colorado Code Consulting and solicit their response.
Do I have a second? Second. Discussion? Okay, public?
Mary, I don't know, you can shut me down if this is not appropriate, but the concern I had before you went to executive session is you hired Dan Reardon as a private contractor for our building inspector.
No, we hired Colorado Code Consulting as a company.
And we are required as the public to pay his fees as an independent contractor. So when you discuss his fees in a closed session, I feel I guess it's a little awkward because we don't have a choice. We have to pay whatever you charges us. So in a way, it's our business to hear what this contract negotiations are because you're passing all these fees directly on to us. It's not the town that's paying them. And that's why I kind of objected to it being a closed session because I believe as someone who has no choice and I'm forced to use this person, I should be able to hear what the negotiations are. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Yes, Tammy? Just from my personal experience, we didn't discuss these.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Next item is on the agenda is proposed building fee structure modification. Who wants to take this one on? So I can
summarize a little bit. There's what was requested by the board at the last meeting to bring a draft of our recommendations for a revised building permit fee structure along with operating principles related to that. So that's what you have in your packet. You've also got information on what we used as an example to create this, which was Park County, Colorado. We were most impressed after looking at several examples with the way they present their fee structure. Since one of the concerns from the Let's Talk session was that our current fee structure is complicated and not well adapted to local needs. So the major changes that we made in this draft include an allowance for minor work that would be less expensive for homeowners and wouldn't require a full inspection. An option or a version that includes a square footage based rather than a value based fee structure for existing projects. So it wouldn't be based on what materials you choose to use or anything like that. It would just be based on the amount of space that you're changing. There would be allowance for some flat fee permits where the size or the cost of the project does not generally impact the work that the town has to do related to that project. The inspection fee will be listed on the website as an estimate, and then the actual fee would be set based on the initial walkthrough or consultation. And ideally, the inspection fee would not change after that point, after the consultation. But that depends on negotiation. We also have some information in there if we were to allow third-party inspections, but I understand that that is not something that is necessarily moving forward, just an option to consider. And we also included suggested rebates that would encourage restoration and preservation of existing buildings in town. Finally, we simplified the fee structure that is property value based. It would be for new construction only. And the third page, which is page 32 in the packet, it's just a graph showing the difference between this much simplified project value-based fee structure versus the project value-based fee structure that we're using now. And I'm sorry that I didn't think to include our current version in the packet, but it's, I believe it comes straight out of the IDC book, and it's, in my mind, it's just overly complicated. This version is easier to read. So that in a nutshell is what's in here, and it's all meant to be possibilities for discussion and consideration.
Who has questions for Alicia?
I have questions and a comment. I really like the simplification, and I like the fact that the principle is up there. And when I read this in the packet for the first time, I was thrilled. Thank you for your work.
Other questions and comments? I do have a question. So it looks like on the graph that you provided, so this is per project. So if we had $1 million project, then it would be about a $500 fee reduction from what we're currently doing. Is that correct?
That's accurate, yes.
Okay.
And I did look up the full chart so you can see the value at each level, but I didn't feel like that was super informative to add into the packet. But if anyone would like to see that, it's available so you can see the price point at every project cost.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, with simplification, I think it'd be less likely that people would try to avoid getting building permits. So that's the other thing I really liked about it.
All right. Nothing else from the board? Anybody from the audience? Yes, Suzanne.
Suzanne Watson. So typically, the inspection fee isn't an additional fee. It's included with the building permit. So it wasn't until we hired Colorado Code Company that supposedly these inspection fees have been added. And I'm not quite sure if the initial inspection, if he just does it and then additional inspections. I don't quite understand what his MO is, but this is really new, so, I think, this is an immense amount of work, and I really appreciate the governmental affairs committee looking into this. But I think in a way, until you know what your building department is going to cost, it's a little hard to start setting fees until you know what the actual cost of the building department are. So for instance, I went to the Cedar Edge budget for 2020, and their town, a city that's larger than us. And I looked at what they were budgeting for their building department, what they're paying their building inspector. For 2020, the building inspector was being paid $11,000. For 2019, I think they had, it was like $9,800 they spent on the building inspector. The fees and permits, revenues, I don't have it totally memorized, but it was something like 28,000 or 32. They're a little bit bigger town than us, but they're making more in revenues and paying 4 times less than we are for a building inspector. So he's obviously not working full time. His name is Bruce. I can't remember his last name. He also is a building inspector for Delta. He's a building inspector for Orchard City, and Hotchkiss just hired him. And I don't know why we can't contact some of the towns that have retained him, ask them what they think of him, find out if he's available to work in Paonia. If on the days that he's in Hotchkiss, maybe he can jump up here next and do some inspections here. I really think, I don't understand why it has to cost so much to hire a building inspector. And if there are inspectors out there who are qualified and working for other towns, I think we need to see if they are available for Paonia too, to keep the cost down for us. So, thank you. So, just to reiterate, you know, if we hired an inspector that was that much less, I think we would really want to look at what we're charging for fees and make sure that it's in line with the actual expenses before we make too many financial decisions. Thank you.
Okay, so what is this meant to be voted on tonight, Michelle? Did you establish your idea?
Not necessarily. With the building inspection itself being a moving target, I do think it's probably premature at this point for us to set fees, not knowing the overall cost that the town is going to see. But I think things that we could vote on are the overall structure and concepts, if the board is interested in doing that. And I think the fees can be tweaked once we know more about our total department costs.
Would you like to make that motion?
Thinking through what I would like to move that we adopt this structure as our new template for the building department, including the rebates and minor work designations with specific fees to be determined based on the results of our pending negotiations.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion from the board. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to, hopefully to have this discussion next week. I've learned a lot here tonight, and I think that, it casts a different light on this whole thing, so personally, I'd like to, do it again at the next meeting. That's my priority.
Other comments? Tim? No, I'd like comments from you. I'd like to hear more about what Suzanne thinks about it, because she is very knowledgeable. Her knowledge level is phenomenal. I'd like to, let her think about it for a while, see what she thinks. All right, anyone else? All right.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tammy, that put a lot of pressure on my shoulders. But what I do want to say is, I just was able to, someone copied this information off to me on Monday, yesterday. It was only available through the town's packet on Sunday, and I think to give the time to where maybe other contractors and residents have the time to review it and really ponder it, and you might not hear from anybody, but to afford people the time to review it would be nice. So, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All those opposed? All right, that motion fails. I guess we'll bring it up in 2 weeks. All right, next on the agenda is holiday offices and council meeting schedule.
Mayor, if I may make one more comment before we move on.
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
My understanding is that we do have a list of the people who attended the Let's Talk session.
Yeah.
If we have contact information, I would love to get those out to them specifically and request any feedback before our next meeting.
Okay, great. All right. Holiday offices and council meeting schedule. Corinne.
Okay, as was reported out at the last meeting, I have had a couple of trustees ask about our holiday closings, so they can start planning their holiday trips and different things. And so what I've provided here are the list of our regular scheduled closings and some proposed modifications, or scheduled closings, and then some board meeting regular schedule, so that we can have a discussion about whether or not to cancel meetings, reschedule meetings, add additional meetings. We could just really look at that when it falls in the calendar with our meetings and our holidays. So, that made no sense. Starting at the regular scheduled closing, you see that typically we're closed Thanksgiving Day, the day after Thanksgiving, half a day on Christmas, Christmas Day, and the workday after Christmas, New Year's Eve half a day, and New Year's Day. I've provided the days that falls on this year's calendar, and the only proposed schedule closing change would be the workday following Christmas, since the workday following Christmas is on Monday, because Christmas is on a Friday. I'm requesting the board approve a modification to allow town hall to close a full day on Christmas Eve instead of a half day. So it actually has half of a day less that we wouldn't be in the office than the usual with this modification. And then for the board meetings portion, regular scheduled meetings are November 10th, November 24th, which is 2 days before Thanksgiving, December 8th, and we typically never hold a second meeting in December. The issue with the December date is that we won't receive our final evaluations from the county until December 10th. So there was one of the options that I added in here that was an option was to reschedule our regular meeting to Tuesday, December 15th. So we still only have one meeting, but it would be the third Tuesday instead of the second Tuesday. If we don't do that, we will have to schedule a special meeting to accept, so that we can do the final budget and accept the final budget before the end of the year. And then the other, of course, was the Tuesday, November 24th. We could continue with the normal schedule. If you want to cancel that meeting or schedule a special meeting at a different date to allow more opportunity for any travel or vacation for board members over that holiday, that was really at the board, for the board to have a conversation and make a decision right now.
All right. Would you like feedback on this? What would you like to see as far as meetings? Let's start with before Thanksgiving. Does anybody want to reschedule that November 24th meeting, or do you want to get? Pardon?
I will be out of state.
Okay.
I will not. If you have that meeting that day, I will not make it.
Okay. Anybody else have a conflict that you might need to look at?
Would it be possible to hold that as a Zoom meeting?
Got it as a Zoom meeting. Would you have access to Zoom, Nick?
Sure.
Okay.
That's at your discretion.
What do you guys think? You want to Zoom that one?
Is there a budget work session thing?
Oh, are we having a budget work session that meeting?
We're going to have to adopt a new budget calendar at the next meeting based on the change in when we're receiving evaluation. So I'm sure we probably have something, if needed. That tends to be how we do it at the end of when we get close to the end of the year, is we include those dates that it's as needed. On you guys. Yeah.
Could we have a public meeting and be on Zoom at the same time?
Everyone could not be on Zoom at the same time because of interference in the same room.
But we could have Nick on Zoom. I mean, like we did with Bo the other time, where Bo was on Zoom and the rest of us were in person.
If the board wants to try to do that, we can. I can tell you that both said it was very difficult to hear.
Oh,
I'll be able to hear you.
Right.
so,
Who's had meetings with, was it, the absent?
right,
Yes. You should have a meeting.
yeah. So it's just, does the board want to meet on the 24th and let Nick go play? We want to play.
I like it.
I would do.
Could we keep it on the calendar, and as we get closer, if we don't need a budget session, and this is a very light agenda, make the decision within a couple of weeks to cancel instead?
Yeah, you can, you
Okay.
can do that at any time up to,
Okay. Well, why don't we just let it stay the way it is right now, and then we'll see how things play out. And what about, would you rather move our December 8th meeting to the December 15th and just call it good?
yeah.
Okay.
So we need to have a motion.
That would need to be because it's rescheduled on the regular meeting.
Okay, then yes, we would need a motion for that.
I'd like to move that we have one meeting during December, and that meeting be set for the 18th. 15th, I'm sorry.
Do I have a second? Any more discussion?
Do we have to adopt the proposed schedule changes with the staff, or is that just?
That I would be a separate.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, all in favor? Opposed? All right, that motion passes. We're meeting on December 15th. And then, do we need to do a motion on the staff changes, or the office changes?
I don't know if it's required, but I would, since we do include the dates in our personnel policy.
Okay.
I move that we select the proposed schedule changes for staff.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comment? Yes.
Just one. So around the Christmas holiday, it looks like we've got 5 days in a row where the office will be closed with the proposed schedule. I'm wondering if we have any data on whether you usually get very many calls or visits during that time. I would guess not, but it would be useful to know. And if we do, maybe we could have someone that's just on call by cell phone or something for a half day.
I don't think there are 5 days, I think there are 4. Because they're working on the Monday after Christmas. They usually take it off, but they're actually working that day.
Right.
Oh, that's, okay, so, never mind. I was misinterpreting what I thought.
We're actually reducing the usual time that we receive off by half a day.
Okay.
All right. Can we have a motion to that effect?
I still have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
Employees are giving up 4 hours of paid time off
Yes.
with this proposal, and I'm not in favor of them having to give that up.
Okay.
I think that we adopt a personnel code that says this is how much paid time off you have, and we're essentially taking this away from them. I don't like doing that. So,
Can we
I'd
get
like to come back and send an answer to that.
Can we get it to them next time? that they then can take that, the hours that any,
Maybe for others, then, I would not comfortable with if we gave them that 4 hours of paid time off at their discretion to be able to use. If the college would like to use it, they just put it on the books.
exactly, they have to use it
This year,
this year.
Well, this year's not very much.
I know.
Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you got an extra 4 hours to take off, figure out when to do it.
well, I would now, between now and.
Yeah, I was asking now in Christmas, yeah. How does the staff feel about that?
Administratively, we're gonna jump hours anyway, so 4 extra hours, that gives them 2 days off instead of, I don't think it really matters either way. Do you?
Well, I'm thinking about the hourly employee.
Honestly, we'll usually take out.
Yeah.
Those are our usual days. Right, that's what I'm saying, I just don't see it taken. Oh, right, there's less Saturday anymore.
Oh, you're not gonna use it?
We probably won't, but we appreciate the offer.
Well, I'm thinking about the hourly people, I'm thinking about you guys.
I should still appreciate that time.
Any other people?
We did make a motion in a second.
No, we did not.
I said,
Oh.
John.
So we covered, do you need to vote, or?
Yes, you still need to vote.
Okay. What motion is it?
Off the schedule.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that one goes too. All right. We are moving on now to the town administrator performance evaluation, acceptance of the final thing. All right. I did take our work and collect it into a document, and only one person got back to me, so I'm assuming it's okay with the rest of the board. So, yes, Tammy.
I don't have any problem with the evaluation itself, I just have some little corrections. Can I go ahead and?
Oh, yeah, I do.
So, on page 36, I think it's the first page, first strike. It says, where is it? The second sentence, it says, shall clearly explain.
All right, we will change that to she.
Okay, and then the priorities, number 5, it's not specific on unfilled position. It just says unfilled position, unless I'm missing something.
Do you want it as the unfilled office position?
Whatever, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a fixed position that is vacated.
Right, I just think, looking back on that, in the months and years to come, go, what position? So,
What do you call it, administrative?
It wouldn't be his title.
Right.
It would be the unfilled, or the open office.
office works for.
Okay, so we can just, so 2 corrections, make shop a she, and then put office in unfilled position.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before we get a motion? Yes.
So I'm not sure if this is even, the appropriate time to discuss this, but it does relate to the evaluation. I'm in agreement with the evaluation generally. I do think the events of the last week have, brought to light some flaws in our general communication plan, and it's not on our current list of priorities, but I think it's something we need to talk about. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
Do I need to be more specific?
No,
Okay.
trying to have an idea. The thing is, do we want to add that to the priorities, or roll that over into the next evaluation, or ask Corinne to put it as part of her goals, or how do we want to address that?
Yeah.
We have another evaluation coming up, and so this is within that evaluation period, and should be dealt with then.
Everyone comfortable with that?
Okay. All right.
So then, yes, I'm sorry.
I just have a quick question. The priority is to complete the master plan, and is that like Corinne's responsibility, or when does it go to planning and zoning, or how does that work? Project.
Yeah, it's part of the process is for her to continue moving on the master plan, and part of that is to get a draft done to send to planning and zoning, or get what's done to send to planning and zoning. Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right. Can we have a motion to accept the evaluation?
That's the evaluation.
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, all in favor? All opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, let's go on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Mayor Bachman?
Yeah.
Apologies, before we do that, I found when I updated the packet with the amended agenda that the liquor license renewal modification of premise did not attach, and so it is not time sensitive, and I would ask the board to table that part from the consent agenda approval until the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda with liquor license renewal and modification of premise table?
Second.
Okay, we have moved and second, any discussion? No, I don't see any, all right, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Honorary mayor's report. I'd like to report that I did write a letter to the Paradise Theater in support of the grant, just stating that they're an asset to the community. The White House Christmas tree plans are moving along. The high school chorus the high school chorus will sing at our little to-do is firmly scheduled for November 12th. November 12th from 10 to 11:30. We will be closing Grand Avenue. And I'm trying to arrange a lights and siren escort from the highway into town. The next thing is, I'm planning on attending the planning commission meeting tomorrow night. This is the Delaware County Planning Commission meeting, because they are looking at their final approval of the land use plan. And so, maybe get some final 2 cents in there before we're done. Okay, that's all I have. Committee report, finance and personnel.
For anyone that's interested, we welcome you to join us to look over all the bills and sign your checks tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock here at Town Hall. And we must move for you. We have recommended salary recommendations to the mayor for the town administrator and the chief. We want to clarify who will be discussing with the municipal judge her salary for next year. One of the hiring promises we made to her is that we would discuss the salary during the budget process, and I want to make sure that's done. And then salary ranges were in the budget packet this budget review session. We have not yet, as a community, decided we're waiting further budget information, but we haven't really made a recommendation about percentage increase for salaries.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Karen? All right. Government Affairs, Public Safety, Nick and Michelle.
So last night on October 8th, we reviewed animal control which will depend on back-to-batch funding for 2021, what that might look like. We also discussed the possibility of extending dog registrations for 10 years rather than having to be renewed annually. Based on information for staff, this would not have a major impact on the budget and would potentially lead to better compliance with our registration rules. So that's something that's under consideration. It would come back, I believe, in the general resolution for town fees later in the budget cycle. So the next thing on our plate is affordable housing, and tied into that are short-term rentals and ADUs. It's a pretty big topic, so we're kind of looking for direction from the board at this point on what you would like to see from the committee related to that. Do you want recommendations on, I don't know. We're going to need some direction before we tackle this big topic.
Anybody got any ideas? Yes, Sid.
I like this accessory dwelling unit idea. And I know other towns have gotten rid of their R1, and this could really help with bringing in a population in town. Could be an economic spur, so I think it'd be really great if we see some ideas. We don't have to come up with the whole plan, but just here's some links for other towns that have done this, and these are the results, and you know, what the impact might be on Paonia for doing that. I think a lot of people are chomping at the bit to have their kids or their parents move into their properties with them, and this would work a lot of that in an affordable way.
Any other suggestions? Well, I would like to look definitely at fee structure for possibly registration of Airbnbs or short-term rentals, so at least we know where they are and who they are.
And I just want to go ahead and state, related to that conversation, two things. One, I do have a conflict of interest with that because I do, although our loving business is a commercial business, we do use Airbnb as a booking agent for that, so I have a connection to that entity. I feel like I can partially provide recommendations to the board in spite of that, but I will probably not vote on a final decision related to that. And second on that, we want to be cautious when we're referring to this that we're talking about short-term rentals and not Airbnb specifically, because then we're talking about regulating a specific business.
Okay, any other suggestions for them? Anything the audience would like to know? No? Okay, do you have sufficient direction there, Michelle? Okay, anything you'd like to add then?
Actually, we did talk about the marijuana issue, that if passed, we need to be ready to move very quickly, because the first of the year we need to implement fees and set structure. But we don't want to act too quickly in case it doesn't pass. So we'll wait until after the election to work on that. We did talk about the evaluation of town inspector, which we've already discussed. Also, we did talk about the shooting incident, which was isolated, targeted event. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Public Works Utilities Facilities, Tammy and Bill. Okay, on September 24th, we met and with Administrator Ferguson, we went on a tour of the facilities with Mr. Lover. We toured the sewer plant, the 2 million and 1 million gallon plants, and we also looked at some of where the sewer feeds the town's system that waters the parks and brings the water through the town. We talked about some of the needs to improve that system and to fix it. And we also looked at some of the things that Mr. Lover is planning on working on fixing and addressing little things
some little things, like there's a slight little, chlorine leak where the chlorine is fed into the sewer system, or into the sewer plant, maybe some piping of the sewer ditch along the street. It was about a 2-hour tour, and I think we learned a lot, and we would like to, again, urge people to go on the public tour when it gets scheduled. Did we schedule that tonight? Okay, we're still waiting on that, that's what I thought. And encourage the work committee to attend. So that's about it. And we don't have a meeting scheduled at this time, our next meeting scheduled at this time. Bill, anything you want to add?
No, I think that trustee Nick pretty well encapsulated.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Space to Create. We did meet with a private individual that was interested in doing affordable housing. She is not really interested in working with government at all. So what might have been a lovely private-public partnership is probably not going to turn out to be anything. Okay, and tree board. Tree board has not met yet. They have some problems, some scheduling problems with their last meeting. They are planning on meeting at 5 p.m. Tuesday. I think that's Tuesday, October 20th, I believe. I'm not looking at the calendar. And that would be at the Park Board Committee. So, and that's about it. Okay. All right, any other issues or anything? Yes? Michelle?
Sorry, I just wanted to go back to your report and see if you have an update on the status of the Water Advisory Committee and the Board of Appeals that we talked about at the last couple of meetings.
We discussed it, Corinne and I discussed it this morning, and agreed that we would like to join both of those boards together into one, so that we only have to have 5 people, and they both seem to address the same kind of thing from slightly different angles, and so we think one board could work effectively to address both issues, and we would rename it as the Board of Appeals, and it would be for zoning and for building permits. And so we're going to run it by Bo and see what he thinks about it, and then we'll move forward after we get his opinion.
So zoning and building permits and also the Water Advisory? Or is that
The Water Advisory is a different one. Corinne is currently working on that.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? All right. Seeing none, I say we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Oh,